Move on. Let's talk about the Nebraska Cornhuskers, a big talking point in Big Ten pools because of what could be in this Matt Rule era. You have the quarterback, the 5-star, the Patrick Mahomes comp. Not that we actually think he's Patrick Mahomes comp, but apparently he looks like him a lot. So that's all right.
Mannerisms. It's like mannerisms. There's
Yeah, yeah, whatever it is. I think you have a defense that can compete with the best of them in the Big Ten. I really do. I really think it's pretty strong. Offensively, you got some weapons. It really came down to these past couple of years, right? Specifically last year was quarterback play. And and years before that, right? Scott Frost just being a bozo. Having the Matt Rule coaching factor, I think, does add, probably like an extra win to your schedule just based on in-game coaching. Like legitimately, like that is for people listening, like that is unbelievable, by the way. Having a war of like over a negative war as an in-game coach, like that is nuts. So yeah, let's just start there in the quarterback room. Look, you got Dylan Rayola, okay, the 5-star. Everyone knows his uncle was the offensive line coach there at Nebraska, and that's why they were going to flip him over there from Georgia. He's going to start day one. I know it's a battle, but Dylan Raiola looked good in the spring game. I don't know if you got to see him, Christopher, but he looked pretty damn good. And I
he
don't
did.
see Heinrich Harburg. I don't see them sending his ass out there again. I really don't.
No, I think it's Riola until it's not. I really think he's talented. He's an upgrade over Harburg. It's just about if he doesn't turn the ball over, which even if he turns the ball over, it's probably not going to be at a rate at which Harburg and Jeff Sims did a year ago. You feel pretty good about that. One point though on the Matt Rule thing, listen, as much as things change, some things just stay the same.
Oh
You're looking
God.
at their November, they lost four one possession games that were right in the grasp of their hands. And I don't blame
Especially
Matt
the Iowa
Rule.
game. Oh my
Oh gosh. Don't blame Matt Rule necessarily, but learning how to win is a thing, right? And it takes time. And I think year one,
But
you
Matt
saw
Rule's
those growing
done
pains.
it, dude. He's done it
Well,
at Temple.
he no, he has. I'm saying his culture and his team.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Minnesota, they blew that game. They blew that game.
You're
Oh
right.
my gosh. They
Well,
were
yeah. What's his name?
Sims, Jeff
Jeff
Sims.
Collins. Jeff Collins or Sim. Yeah, Jeff Sim. Sorry, Jeff
Jeff
Collins.
Sims.
Oh,
Jeff Collins
different
at
Georgia Tech legend.
UNC.
Different Georgia Tech legend.
That's wild. Jeff Collins got a shout out in the Nebraska video. Regardless, though,
Hey, he's gonna be coaching against Minnesota.
yeah, exactly.
So you got a shout out. Yeah. So.
For real, for real. So, but behind that, I like Daniel Kalen too. He's still a couple years away, I think, from playing. Hopefully, if you're a Nebraska fan, right, everything goes perfectly. Real Iowa for 3 years, and then Kalen for two more after that. That would be amazing for Matt Rule and that staff. But yeah, I think it's Raiola.
Oh yeah. The running back room. Meh. I mean, Gabe Ervin, right? I think Nebraska fans could say that he's pretty solid. I think they have a lot of pieces. I just don't think that there's really a lot of actually I shouldn't say that they're deep. I don't see a ton of talent here in this room. I really think it's Gabe Ervin. Look, if Dante Dowdle, the transfer from Oregon, if he steps up, I think he could be pretty decent. Is Emmett Johnson that good? I don't know.
I
I'm kind of
like
a
Johnson.
gamer. I'm a Gabe Ervin fan. What's your name? What do you say?
I like Johnson actually, but
Okay.
again, in that room, like I think they're all fine. I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're elite. Like I would take most running back rooms in the Big Ten over this one, but it's not a bad room.
I would take almost all of them, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Like
it's not like
all like literally almost every single one, maybe.
well, maybe think about Wisconsin, Washington, and maybe
Okay.
not Northwestern, although Cam Porter's not bad. Regardless, though, yeah, Emmett Johnson, Gabe Ervin, Dante Dawa, or I guess Ramir Johnson, but not really. Yeah, for a team that likes to run the football, it would be nice to have a difference maker back there. It would. But it is what it is. At least you got three, four guys that are replacement level players that, aren't gonna, the floor is not gonna fall out of you where you can't run the football anymore and whatnot.
Yeah, but speaking of difference makers, at the wide receiver position, I think you have some. Like, I think you have legitimate difference makers here. Jamal Banks come from Wake Forest was really good for them. Okay. He's got size. He's played on the outside a ton. He's got go get him ability. I think he can get the ball. I think Isaiah Nayer is an absolute speed demon. Guy that just got injured and fell behind at Texas when he transferred there. But let's not forget what he did at Wyoming. He was absolutely unbelievable there. I think he's really good. Malachi Coleman is a guy that you and I have been high on for a long time. Well, I say a long time. He's only a sophomore, but when is he going to get his action? Like if he's out there, does that mean, uh, is Bonner going to be out there playing as well? Like I think Jalen Lloyd, I think there's some really good players in this wide receiver room that I think people are sleeping on a little bit. I think Dylan Raiola has some weapons that he can throw it to.
Did you say Isaiah Garcia Castaneda as well?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, coming from New Mexico State a couple years ago, and Nebraska fans remember him. I think he opened the season right against Northwestern. He had a big touchdown and he flashed a little bit, and then he's been hurt, right? It's kind of stinks for him, but Lloyd's an interesting guy because he caught like 5 catches, right, or whatever it was, 6 catches, and 6 different games, and it was like just big explosive plays, like 3 over 50 yards, and it's like holy cow. Um, and that obviously broke some of those games open, or extended what you were doing. I like this room, and I think Dylan Raiola for a freshman quarterback, he's walking into a pretty good situation with this receiving room, and throw that on top of that, we got some pretty darn good tight ends. I'll start with Carter Nelson, who's starting his career at wide receiver. It sounds like he was a high 4-star tight end. Rule thinks it's easier to get on the field early for him. He's a guy that's flashed. I don't know how much he'll give you because it's a pretty deep wide receiver room as it is. But it's kind of exciting to see that they want to get him on the field and they're kind of switching him to wide receiver, similar to what Bama's doing
It's
with
kind of
Caleb.
crazy because like we'll talk about their tight end room in a second, but I, I don't know. I I don't know the last time that I've seen this kind of speed, size, and talent at the receiver position for Nebraska. I not since I've been watching football.
No, and even like Nebraska of old too was always run the football. Like it was your Taylor Martinez at quarterback, Adrian Martinez at like it was guys that like run the football, explosive, right, with their legs, but it wasn't like pushing the ball down the field, being multiple with your wide receivers. Yeah, I'm with you. This is an exciting time. That Rule, Scott Satterfield. Say what you want about Scott Satterfield. He's got some fun weapons, and hopefully you can figure him out with that wide receiver room.
You mean Marcus Satterfield?
Wow, jeez. Say
It's
what
all
you want
good.
about Marcus Satterfield too. And
Say
Scott's
what you want
actually
about
amazing.
Scott and Marcus Satterfield. Yeah. Uh, the tight end room. All right, Nebraska fans. Look, it's just me and you right now. Okay. Fedoni stinks. Right?
No, don't tell him that. Don't tell him
He
that.
does.
Don't go. Don't go, Nebraska
He
fans.
he's guys, he stinks. Okay. And look, I think there are a lot of Nebraska fans that can agree with me out there, but uh can Borkashire play? Right? Like, is he gonna get on the field more? Because like I would like to see Borkashire more. I would like to see Lindenmeyer more and Carter Nelson. I think the depth is there, I guess. And then we were talking about him moving from tight end to receiver. I understand that, but uh hopefully Satterfield can start focusing in on that, tight end position, as a real weapon in that offensive room. But Fedoni, I mean, how many times did like just Rick hands this guy? Uh, I don't know. Maybe it was just one season, but when I watched him, I just thought that it was alive. And it's a guy that it's a high recruit. Like, I don't know how it happened with him, man. I don't know how it happened. Maybe he turns it around. I hope he does. I really do. Did you have any other comments on the tight end room, or are you going to say that Fedoni is pretty good?
I think Fedoni, at worst, well, he's a talented guy. He was a former high 4-star Iowa kid, right? You love him from the Midwest. They've been waiting on him to break out. Yeah, he didn't put it together last year. I'm not selling the farm. I'm not selling his stock quite yet. Um, I do think it's nice that I think you'll have a little less focus around him because you've got legit weapons on the outside. And by the way, too, like if you're a young quarterback, having a good tight end is just so important. Like Fedoni is an important piece of this offense if he can figure it out.
Oh yeah, if he figures it out, like You're right. The talent is there. But man, I didn't see it last year. But who's to say he can't improve, right? Who's to say he can't improve? I mean, a guy of his, caliber and his talent, sometimes things just work together. Sometimes you just need better and more opportunities to improve. So
Well, yeah, I mean,
I hope Nebraska fans did just like turn this video off when they heard me say Patoni stinks, but
that's why I was like, don't go, don't go.
I
You
could,
cannot.
don't leave us.
If you thought I
Because
drank the
we got
Kool-Aid,
other good things to say. We got a lot of good things to say. Like
yeah, no. But
uh
listen, in terms of someone who was a high recruit and struggled early in his career and getting much better, we'll go over to the offensive line room if that's all right. Bryce Benhart. I mean, he was
yeah.
bad as a freshman and sophomore, getting much better now, where he's one of the nice anchors on your offensive line.
Yeah, and Ben Scott I think is a really nice piece over there at the center position. I think this offensive line's pretty good. It's not elite, but I think it's good. I think it has question marks, but I think there's a lot of guys that have had snaps and have had decent snaps.
Continuity
Um,
together too. They're just kind of growing together, getting better and better. It was bad a couple years ago. Last year wasn't great, but I think it will be just a little bit. It's to keep getting better and better and better, and turning into one of the better parts of this offense.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how good Micah Maskua is. From what I've heard, he's pretty decent. Would like to see what he does there. I think it's pretty decent. I think he got some guys. It, it's a bummer that this running back room I don't think is very good. I hope it's I don't know, man.
Oh wait, I missed that. Did Teddy Pro, Prochaska? Did he tore his? He tore his
Yeah,
ACL.
he's out of there, dude.
Oh, that is brutal. I'm sorry, I just missed that. That just happened recently.
Yeah, so I don't know. And that was a guy that, I don't think we had seen enough of, but definitely a guy that had a lot of upside there. And we'll see what they do. I still think he can be a decent offensive line. Big hole, obviously. Tough to
Well,
see that.
is Grant Breaks? Is he ready to play as a freshman? I mean, you hope not, but he
Well, yeah,
really good player.
that would be nice, right? But I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do in terms of like what this final piece is gonna look like, considering the injury of Processi. But uh Processa, I don't know how to say that, to be honest. I thought I heard someone say that, but see, these are the things I'm supposed to be writing down, like how to pronounce names, and I failed to do that uh, for that one. But Prochaska, I'm just going to pretend like that's how you pronounce it. Nebraska fans, I'm so sorry. Uh, but yeah, so overall, I think this offense is vastly improved from last year, vastly improved. And I think at every single position, right? If you get Fedoni to improve at some point, like the wide receiver room looks good. I think the running backs, it's basically the same room, kind of. But hopefully Gabe Irvin, takes that step, and obviously the transfer from Oregon, hopefully he becomes pretty good, and maybe Emmett Johnson, kind of takes another step as well. I think everywhere you get just about better, and I also think the same thing happens on the defensive line for Nebraska. I mean, just what an absolute unit this is. The polar bear, Jamari Butler, Ty Robinson, Elijah Judy. Is he going to play a lot of snaps this year? I hope so. He's got the talent. Cameron Leonard. I mean, not even to mention um Princewill Uman like Stephen Thompson from Syracuse. You know,
MJ
Eh,
Sherman, former Georgia guy,
this
real quick, Keona Davis. He's turning heads. That's a true freshman. That's 10 names that you feel good about. God, who can say that? Who
that's
can say
pretty
that in college
nuts.
football right now?
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Riley Van Poppel too. Is that 11? I mean,
Oh, I'm sorry, Popple, Ty Robinson. I hope we talked about him. Those are the 10, yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah, pretty nuts. The linebacker room. I mean, we got guys who have had snaps before, but I think they're going to benefit a ton. I don't think it matters too much you put in this linebacker group. Like if you have this group on the defensive line, they're going to elevate the play of these linebackers. So I'm not very concerned. Um, about Bullock and Wright. I'm assuming that those are the two guys that are going to be there.
That's what I've heard too. I mean, those guys, I mean, Wright played almost 350 snaps last year, 13.2% missed tackle rate. It's fine. You'd like to see it drop
Small
just a
sample
little
size.
bit.
That's
It's
a
small.
smaller. That's a smaller sample size, to be honest.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens in a much bigger role, and also playing behind that D line is another year better, right? Last year, I think it was a little bit surprised how good a D line was and how many pieces
Stephen
contributed.
Thompson going to play Mike? No, no
I
way.
know he put, so I think they can do a lot of things with him. It sounds like last I checked, he was like playing edge, outside linebacker.
Okay, because like I'm looking at two different sources. Like I know he's an edge rusher, and I'm looking at another source, and they have him written down as a Mike, and I'm like, what? There's no way Stephen Thompson is playing Mike.
I mean, so he's reuniting with I think Tony White, right?
Yeah, because Tony White. Yeah, yeah.
Some Syracuse. So I don't know if there's some kind of position change going on there. I think we'll see, I guess, week one and beyond from that. But
That'd be
you're
crazy.
deep at edge. You're deep at
That
edge.
is true. That is true.
You want to hate that. And he kind of struggled a little bit. So you could move him to Mike, see what happens.
Yeah. So then, how do you feel about this secondary? Because I feel okay about it.
Yeah, I mean Tommy Hill is kind of banged up right now. That's not ideal.
There's a lack
He's
of like experience like across the board, but I think like they're recruiting a different, they're getting a different type of defensive back in this room. Like these guys are big and long and athletic. I think like Gifford and Hill are probably two of the better players on this entire defense, even with everything that you have on the defensive line. I think.
you said yes. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I like so Singleton was a guy that was hurt after the first 4 games last year. So he got hurt in that fifth game. He looked pretty good for you, right? He's 6'3", 205. He's coming back, pairing with Marcus Buford, who was hurt at the beginning of last year. 5'11", 190. Nice contrast there. You like that. We'll see. I think Omar Brown and Phelan Sanford, they're gone to the NFL. Quentin Newsom's gone in that cornerback room as well. We'll see. I'm worried about depth at safety position, I guess. But you bring in a guy like Sia Wright from USC. You bring in a guy like Bly Hill. Mario Buford was a high recruit. I, I don't hate this room at all. If Tommy Hill's healthy and Malcolm Hartzeg, puts it together in year two, right? You kind of like that, especially I think, especially how good your pass rush is going to be, and you're not going to be in 3rd and 6, 3rd and 4. You're going to be in 3rd and 8, 3rd and long. With how good your front seven is.
Yeah, is Bly Hill, is he gonna be healthy, you think?
I haven't seen anything about that. I guess
Well,
I'll
he got hurt in the spring game. I think I don't know. When I'm reading about it, it's just like his kneecap. They just mentioned it as like a kneecap injury. I don't know about the timetable, but
so
regardless, I think they still have enough pieces here in the secondary to kind of fit
yeah,
something together, even if he's not playing
Matt Rule
necessarily
said
right away.
at Big Ten Media Days that he's trending in a really good spot, much better than I thought he would be. It
Nice.
said he was supposed to miss some time into September, but if he's a couple weeks early, that's great. They're bringing Sayer right, like I said,
Yeah.
and then Jeremiah Charles was a redshirt freshman guy that Rule mentioned to potentially take his place or to be elevated in that depth chart. So we'll see, especially if Tommy Hill has to miss early time and Bly Hill's also hurt. You could see some mix and a match in there, but if those guys get healthy come October, November, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at special teams right now. I did not study Nebraska punt teams, but to be averaging 37 yards per punt is pretty terrible.
Like net yards.
Yeah, net yards, and they're running out the same punter. Yeah, I don't know if that. I mean, I don't know. Like,
Hopefully, you're
Keenum,
not punting much.
yeah, hopefully you're not punting. Well, that's actually a big deal because your offense gets better. That is something that you got to think about, I guess. So I don't know.
Yeah,
That's all I was
I
just looking
wonder.
at
I
this.
mean, I wonder how sometimes the net yards can be skewed because if you're pinning guys deep or whatnot. I mean, well, I guess net yards kind of accounts for that. I don't know. I don't know exactly, but um,
I
yeah,
don't
I guess
know.
I'm not a special teams wizard.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Probably shouldn't be commenting too much on it because I didn't watch a lot of those punts per se. Uh, but when we look at the schedule, CD, all right, the over and win total is at 7.5. Which, by the way, when was the last time Nebraska made a bowl game?
But is pre Matt not wow, not Matt Rule. Holy cow! I'm sorry, Nebraska man. Scott Frost.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. I think they've had of Power Five teams is it the most consecutive losing seasons of any school in Power Five. Probably one or two. So you get UTEP at home week one, then Colorado at home week two. I think that's important because I think Colorado's improved. Northern Iowa at home, Illinois at home. First four games are at home, and I think those are all winnable games. Then you go to Purdue, you get Rutgers at home, you get a bye, you go to Indiana, then you play Ohio State on the road, which I think is nice because then you don't have to waste a home game on them. UCLA at home, you get a bye at USC, Wisconsin at home, and then on the road against Iowa. The over and win total is at 7.5. And I'm gonna kind of reluctantly take the over here.
Yeah, I'm taking the under. It's not that I don't like this team. I just think a couple question marks at certain spots. Depth on that O line, especially with the left tackle getting hurt, depth in the secondary, battling some injuries. And also that schedule is low key tough. I mean, I know you have Ohio State, right, on the road, which is, it's probably lost, right? But then you got to go to USC, to Iowa, Wisconsin's on there, at Purdue, Illinois Friday night, who, by the way, going to Illinois. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're hosting Illinois, but that's a revenge game for them. And Colorado, too. I mean, say what you want about them, but they could give them fits, especially in that secondary, if they can learn how to block that front seven somehow, right? I think they could give them some real problems. Eight wins seems like a lot, a big jump from 5 wins. I know they were so close last year to making a bowl game. I think 7-5 is the most realistic outcome, especially at minus 102. I'll take that.
I just think that getting some of these games at home is a big deal. I think getting Wisconsin at home is a big deal. I think getting Rutgers at home is a big deal. I think getting Illinois at home is a big deal. Colorado at home is a big deal. I think out of conference, they can go 3-0. Okay. I think Colorado could beat Nebraska, but I do think, look, Nebraska, that was a brutal Nebraska team to watch early last year. Brutal team. That offense that they put out there on the field was absolutely abysmal. I think that defense is going to give Colorado fits. And if Colorado cannot score, then Nebraska will have a chance, I think, to maybe win that game, right? So I think that Nebraska can start 4-0. And then from there, you got to find four more wins. I think you can beat Purdue. I think you can beat Rutgers at home. I think you can beat Indiana on the road. And I think you can beat UCLA at home. Right? Like there's a chance that they could hit this over by the time that they get to Wisconsin. Although if they get to
Yeah.
Wisconsin and they're at 7 wins, then they got to win that game because I do not think that they're going to connect in winning that game.
Well, after that bye week, week 11, it's at USC, Wisconsin, at Iowa. I'm sorry. It's a tough way to end the season. That's a tough way to end the season.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I just I feel good about Matt Rule. This is also a Matt Rule play. All right. This is not necessarily oh, I'm not so high on the offense or I'm high on the offensive line or oh, I'm high on this, I'm high on that. Like, yeah, it is those things, right? Obviously, better quarterback play is going to lead to magnificent results. And I also think that this wide receiver room is very good and can compete and give some of these secondaries in the Big Ten problems, especially some of the ones
Yeah.
that they're going to be playing. I also just think Matt Rule just adds wins, man. Like at the end of the year, they were just playing someone like I know that they lost those games, okay? But like quarterback play was so consistently bad all year long. And I know the schedule, I guess, was it more favorable last year? I have to go back and look, but I just think that they can get to 8 wins. And I think that would be a gigantic, massive. I think getting to a bowl game is a win for Matt Rule, by the way. I don't think just because they don't reach their 7.5 win total, it's a failure of a season. I just do think that they can reach the 8.5 win mark because of the upside of the defensive line, that wide receiver core, and just having better quarterback play and a coach that doesn't fuck shit up every single time he walks on the field.
No, I'm with you. I didn't think their schedule last year. I mean, Minnesota, Colorado, Illinois, Purdue, Michigan State. Those are all teams that missed bowl games, and you only won two of them, right? And so we'll see. We'll see, I guess. But you were 5-3 going into November last year, and you lost to Michigan State. Maryland was kind of like it was so doable to win 8 games last year. To win 9 games last year was so doable.
I know, but they
Uh,
say that every year with Nebraska, though. That's
but their schedule though was, I mean, they didn't have Penn State, they didn't have Ohio State, they didn't have Michigan, or they had Michigan, but they didn't have Penn State, Ohio State, and their crossover was Maryland. So Maryland,
well,
Michigan State. I'm sorry, but
yeah.
I don't know. Listen, I'm with you on Matt Rule, behind Matt Rule. Just let's pump the brakes here. I think 7 wins, very successful season. Hits the under.